Hello everybody, I'm Kendall Grey. I'm talking today about elementals. Amy from the Book Loving Mom had some questions about the elemental characters, and I'm going to get to those in just a minute, but first let me just explain what an elemental is. It's a human being who has kind of magical powers. They've been imbued with one of the four elements: earth, air, fire, or water. Now, all elementals actually have a little bit of all the elements in them, but one of the elements is particularly strong in that individual. And so they're able to manipulate that element in a lot of different ways, which has some advantages and disadvantages. Cool parts. Well, I mean, there's obviously a lot of really fun things you could do if you're a, water elemental who doesn't like fires, or a fire who doesn't like airs, or whatever. Elementals can, they all have one element that they eclipse, and then there's an element that shadows them. So the eclipsing part is kind of cool because there's always one form of element that you can really kind of kick ass against. So if you're a fire, you don't like an air, you just burn them, and then that's the end of that. And so that's one advantage. Another advantage is that elementals can walk through their element. They can use their element as kind of as a portal to go from point A to point B. So if I'm a water elemental, sorry, that's my dog. If I'm a water elemental, what are you looking at? She's so dumb. And I want to travel from, Harvey Bay to, I don't know, the west coast of the United States, and I'm in contact with the medium of water, I can water walk there. And it's all I got to do is have contact, and I can go from point A to point B, no problem. So for waters, it's really easy. As long as you're near water, you can get to wherever you need to go. You have to kind of have been there before, though, because you need to know like the area in order to get there. And so if you're an air elemental, it's pretty easy. As long as you're in contact with air, which most of us are pretty much all the time, you're okay. And same thing with earth. Fires are harder because fire isn't just spontaneously everywhere. You have to have a source. So you'll see the characters in the book sometimes will carry lighters with them or they'll look for something that they can kind of heat up with their hand, because they can't just spontaneously travel. They have to have the medium. And in the place that they're going, there has to be fire there too. So they're probably the ones that are most at a disadvantage when it comes to walking through their element. Life as an elemental isn't always peaches and cream. You do have some disadvantages if you're an elemental. I just mentioned that you're eclipsed by another element. So if you're an air elemental, you're going to eclipse earth. So earths don't like airs. Airs don't like fires. Fires don't like waters, and waters don't like earths. And so it's hard to go through everyday activities when you're say, for example, you're an air elemental and there's fire around just naturally. So that natural fire isn't going to hurt you nearly as badly as a fire elemental would, but it's still going to be very uncomfortable. So if you're an air and you get burned, it hurts. I mean, you're not going to be happy about that. The same thing with earth elementals. They don't like to go out in the wind. They don't like to fly. Anything that's going to put them in a situation where they're going to have air on them, they're not going to be happy. They're going to be very uncomfortable to the point of pain. But the pain that they sustain isn't like damaging kind of pain. It's not going to like totally incapacitate them. An elemental will. So if you're an earth elemental and and an air comes along and starts messing with you, that is grounds for being dead. Another disadvantage of being an elemental is that you have to tithe part of your element every 6 months. So you have 4 arch elementals in your area of the world where you live that you're supposed to make a tithe. You make a tithe to your elemental, your arch elemental. And he or she then takes all the element and sort of sacrifices it to their god. You have Arrow is the air elemental god, Terra is the earth, Aqua is the water, and Incendius is the fire. So you have to, tithing your element is not fun because that you're having to give up part of yourself um, to help sustain your God's sort of hold over the world. And they're always bickering, they're always fighting, and there's sometimes imbalance. And that's where the sentinels come in. The sentinels are there to try to keep the balance, and the elementals are trying to like throw the balance. So you got all kinds of forces at work here.